Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the Frontline Changes Report, and we're going to start off with, there's quite a number of them. We can start off with the Bakhmut front over at Ivaniske. So this is Bakhmut city, and Ivaniske is over here, and so there is a few frontline change coming from all the way from Bohdanivka, stretching all the way to Ivaniske. And okay, start off in Bohdanivka. I think we just from top to the bottom is a bit simpler. So according to the Ukrainian mapping by Deep State UA, they have acknowledged that the Russians have taken this area in the southernmost part of Bohdanivka. Previously, we have put it as under Ukrainian on the possibility because based on geolocation. So it was a gray zone because there is possible Ukrainian presence, but it may be geolocated based on the older footage. So the mapping from Deep State UA have acknowledged and confirmed that the Russians have taken the entirety of Bohdanivka. And further south, for the first time, the Ukrainian mapping have acknowledged, based on the geolocation of Russian forces in the forest region, which the Russian mappers or Russian OSINT have already claimed for a long time. So the Russians have claimed that the Russian forces have taken most of these forests. Now we only have some corroboration from the Ukrainian side saying that the Russians have taken this part of the forest. So it's not the entire of the forest that is claimed by the Russian side, but at least this is somewhat of a corroboration confirming that the Russians have taken most of the forest, and this is going to put pressure on the Ukrainian forces that the Russian forces can actually now attack from two different directions, as well as through the center into Novi, where the Ukrainian forces is currently holding their ground against the Russian onslaught. Further south, the Russians have also secured the rest of this tree line around here, with the Ukrainian mapping confirming this change around here, and it is based on this geolocation of Russian forces at this edge of the tree line. So it's because of this kind of thing that the Ukrainian mapping will have to acknowledge the Russian presence in this area here. So this also includes the northern part of Ivaniske. So in all, in this entire area, Russian forces have made multiple advances in this area here across the entire front line at Novi or towards the Chasiv Yar direction. So this is the frontline change over at the Bakhmut front. So we move on to the next frontline change is over at Avdiivka. So this is a Avdiivka front. This is Avdiivka city. This is in the north of Donetsk city. So the Avdiivka front is this area here, and at the Avdiivka region or Novo-Bakhmutivka region. So this is Avdiivka, this is Novo-Bakhmutivka. The Russian forces have made some advances in this area here. This changes is based on two geolocation. What Russian forces are geolocated in two different directions. Particularly over in this one north of Avdiivka, it was a Russian offensive operation, assault operation in this area here, and there was Russian forces geolocated to be struck at this area. So which means that the Russians are making progress towards the direction of Novo-Bakhmutivka. The Russians are pushing in this direction. And it looks like this is going to be the next factor of attack. The Russians are focusing on Novo-Bakhmutivka. Capturing this will complicate the defenses, definitely in the strategic sense. As this is rather strategically important, allow the Russians to attack Slovy and as well as Georgiivka. And this will cut off yet another possibility of Ukrainian using the trains to reinforce troops, but I don't think the Ukrainians are using much trains in this region, because usually they will drop off troops over at Pokrov, because going over to Georgiivka is a bit dangerous nowadays. So anyway, this frontline change is huge. We're talking about a huge expanse of grounds. We're talking about it's like almost three kilometers square, 3 square kilometers, a very huge distance. So this is the frontline change. Over at Semenivka, Russian forces geolocated right in the center of Semenivka. And this means that the Russians have basically just a little bit left to capture the rest of Semenivka. We are talking about Ukrainian forces are holding just 1/3 of the village. And with the Russians claiming possible holding of the entire of Avdiivka, with this push around here, this looks like inevitability that the Russians will capture Semenivka. And it's important to note that based on the geolocation, this is actually, let me see, assault detachment, and then shelling by Ukrainian forces, which means that there might not even be Ukrainian forces over here, given that the Ukrainians are shelling the Russian forces at this position, because this is very close to do fire support with artillery. Given your forces are so near, it's a little bit dangerous unless you have a very accurate artillery support and a very well trained troops. So this entire area might not have Ukrainian troops anymore. Ukrainian forces may be hiding along the tree lines. Let me use another color. So Ukrainian forces might be hiding, along these tree lines to hold back the Russian advances, which is heading in this direction, and using FPV drones and artillery to slow down the Russian advance. But it looks like Semenivka is going to be captured within the next 24 to 48 hours if there is no Ukrainian forces in the northern part of Semenivka. So this seems to be inevitable at this rate. So we're going to move on away from the Avdiivka front. The next front line change is over at the Battle of Krasnohorivka in the Donetsk front, and there is no updates in this area here for a long time, for quite a number of days, and finally we have new updates. So there is geolocation of Russian forces pushing northward in this southeastern part of Krasnohorivka, and there is bombardment of Russian forces being geolocated in this area, expanding the possible control of Russian forces. So if I zoom in a bit, these two buildings got bombarded and destroyed with some kind of could be an airstrike or some heavy artillery. So, but this also shows Russian presence in this area here, and with this geolocation, Russian forces have actually pushed up in this area. And you may think that, oh, this looks like nothing much, but if I actually draw the arrow, measure the distance, this entire advance could actually be 200 meters, and this entire street along here is already 300-400 meters. It's actually quite a number of distance. So it's not like nothing. It's actually quite a bit of distance. Like, because if you zoom in, imagine the size of a person. It is still quite some distance. Especially here is heavily defended by the Russian Ukrainian forces. There might be snipers everywhere. Movement is going to be very, very slow. So, and that's all from Krasnohorivka, and the last frontline change is over at Georgiivka. Just this Krasnohorivka, so this Georgiivka, and at Georgiivka, Ukrainian forces geolocated to be attacked by Russian FPV drone. This drone attack confirms Ukrainian presence in this area, which was previously claimed by Russian forces, and this is actually the furthest extent that the Russians have actually managed to arrive or go, according to the Russian claims. So with this geolocation, we have invalidated this entire area to be under Ukrainian control. Russian forces are likely to be in the center of Georgiivka, which means that Russians are likely to be only as far as this area here. So, this is where the new front line is going to be. So these are the frontline changes report. Because there's quite a number of frontline change, so I just going to do this as a separate video. So do press the like button, subscribe. I will cover the SIBRAP either later or maybe tomorrow, so that we have a combined SIBRAP. Meanwhile, thank you for watching. See you guys in the next update.